position and your year, so we have that information slated.
Okay. My name is Alan Elijah. That's spelled A-L-L-E-N. Elijah is E-L-I-J-A-H. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and I attended the university as a student athlete from 1971 until 1975.
And what was your position?
I played forward and jump center.
Okay. Doug, go ahead.
Okay.
And you can have him redo that as a question if you want, since.
Oh, you didn't take that?
Well, I was, but he was spelling it, so if you want to have him just re-say it.
Oh, no, that's fine. All that's for is for whoever's doing the
Okay.
editing, just so they know. Well, Alan, first, thank you for coming, but the subject of the show that you're going to be a part of is the triple overtime game. And can you tell us what it was like that season? Because you had a great win against Notre Dame here at the arena, and then went into the tournament against, the brand name of college basketball at the time, UCLA.
That year in particular was very special. As a matter of fact, after we beat Notre Dame here at the university, Mick began to lay out the plan to play UCLA. We began to work on offensive strategies that we would use against UCLA. And while we didn't take any of the opponents between that point and actually playing the UCLA game for granted, we began to do a dual purpose, if you will. So we knew that that was going to happen. It was virtually a foregone conclusion for us.
Now, when you guys took the floor against UCLA, did you feel that you were just, to them, just another step in the road back to the finals? And then as the game wore on, do you think that perception changed a little bit?
It's funny that you mention it that particular way. My sense from UCLA is that there was this little team from someplace back east that they were just going to roll over and on their quest to another national championship. And we were bound and determined to make them recognize that we were just not going to roll over and let them have this game. We had talked about it, we had strategized on it, and we had come together collectively as a team to take it to UCLA. And that's exactly what we were able to do.
Did it help you with all that preparation? I mean, they were probably a team that probably took the approach, being such a powerful program. We know what we're going to do. You know what we're going to do. Now it's just up to you to stop it. Do you think that familiarity helped you because you knew what to expect from them and it was just a matter of executing Mick's game plan?
It really was. And I think Mick admired Coach Wooden such that a portion of our offense mimicked what UCLA ran. So we were familiar with a lot of the cuts that they would make. It doesn't take anything away by any means from the caliber of the players that are executing that plan, because therein lies the major difference. But with determination and fortitude, we were able to, and a little luck, we were able to have them reckon with the University of Dayton.
What are some of the things you remember most about actually playing in that game?
I remember having nightmares checking Dave Myers. Mick had a strategy that wherever Walton was, there would be 3 players checking him at all times. Whoever his man was, whoever the guard was on that side of the floor would need to sink in to bother the center, and the forward on that side of the floor would need to slough off of their man to again collapse on Walton. When that happened, Walton would throw the ball back out to the forward. The forward was Dave Myers, and by the time you go from the baseline all the way out to the deep corner, you're doing all you can do to cover that kind of territory. And I'm looking at his belt buckle every time. So, but the strategy worked. The strategy bothered them enough that Walton didn't kill us.
What do you remember of the team was, as many people remember, pretty much guard-oriented with Donald and Johnny Davis. What do you remember about the games that they had, and actually the games that everyone had?
Well, they had fantastic games. As a matter of fact, we were expecting them to have their normal games, and those guys rose to the occasion. Mike Sylvester also had a stellar game, and as I recall, so did Joe Fisher. So by everyone coming together, I think, as a team, not being intimidated, and playing to the level that we knew we could play, it was a winnable game, and we never at any time thought that we would be out of it.
Now, you know, Mick would say that Tom Blackburn was the greatest coach at the University of Dayton. Many, including me, would say that he was the greatest, that Mick was the greatest coach. What was it like to play for Don Donaher?
First, I would say that it depends on your frame of reference. Mine was during the Donaher years. And one of the things that I would have to say that is most memorable is that Mick was a stickler for the fundamentals. And a lot of the teams that we played, while they had a lot of the all-star players on them, didn't have the basics of the game down. Boxing out, the particular movements that you would make during your defensive slides, things of that nature. And once you do those and they come as a reflex, you can then begin to work on the other parts of the game. And the small things will be the things that make a difference between a good team and a great team. Mick was a stickler for the basics, and to this day, that approach still works.
You're one of a long line of fantastic players from Detroit. Why do you think that is that we've been able to get so many good players from Detroit to come down to UD?
Well, at least during my time period, it was found that Dayton was a place that you could come and get an excellent education. The people in the town know, understand, and love the game of basketball. From Detroit, my perspective was I felt I could come to the university, contribute, and actually play, which would have been questionable at some of the other university choices I could have made. And I have absolutely no regrets. And I think that once we found that the university was willing to allow us to play our game, we could contribute, we could graduate from here, we could get a very good education, and the town would accept us, that it was a place that there couldn't be enough guys getting in the pipeline to try to get here. And all the things I had to say about the university were positive, and I think that kind of helped open the door for Johnny Davis and Leighton Moulton and Irv Giddings and some of the other guys that came this way.
What did it mean to you when you were a player to play in front of such a rabid fan base and what at the time was a relatively new state-of-the-art building? Well,
the university's facilities were fabulous. The tartan floor I just fell in love with, and the attendance was incredible. One of the things that you do, or at least I will speak for myself, one of the things that I found that I did is even though you're playing in front of 13-5, you need to focus on what it is that you're doing. So you kind of block the crowd out. So from my perspective, they weren't a factor. But I know that it had to be intimidating for everybody that came into this facility because many of the universities that we played only got 6,000 or 7,000 people on a good night to come to a game. So to come into the University of Dayton year in, year out, and play in front of a crowd as loud as ours and as basketball savvy as ours had to be intimidating, and it was a wonderful experience.
What, at the time that you were a player, what did playing for the University of Dayton mean to you?
Well, it meant that there was a tradition of excellence, and they had a winning team. They played an excellent schedule. So all of the things that you'd want to do as a basketball player, you had an opportunity to do from the University of Dayton. And I don't think that a lot of players that may have had an opportunity to come here really understood what the program had to offer. I don't have any regrets.
Now that you have some perspective, looking back, what did it mean? What does it mean to you now?
I should have shot the ball more.
Let's see. Well, the last question. I mean, you stayed in town. Well, why don't you talk about what you're doing now, because it is very interesting.
Well, now I am Director of Programs and Projects for the Wright Dunbar Business District. And the people that I work with and myself are restoring a historical business district where the Wright Brothers Cycle Shop was located on West 3rd Street, approximately half a mile from downtown Dayton. And I've always been interested in business and economic development. My major at the university was business management, and I'm having an opportunity to apply all the things that I've learned in the positions, various positions that I've held thus far in this particular endeavor. So I've got the best of both worlds.
Having stayed in town and having stayed in contact with the university, you've been able to see the recent success of the basketball team. Were you here for the A-10 tournament at all?
I was at the tournament. The tradition continues. The university has changed and evolved. While we stand and sit in the arena looks hardly anything like I recall it looking. It has some similarities, but outside of that, the planning that the university has done in order to stay state-of-the-art has been tremendous. And having an opportunity to watch that evolve since my coming on the scene back in '71 just speaks to the fact that the university is going to stay top shelf and will continue to be that way.
Thank you very much.
I know I seem like I sucked up a lot, but that's kind of what I think. And you didn't get that on tape, right?
Can you get the mic in there? I'm not recording it, I just need you to tell me your name and where you're from real quick so I can get an audio check. First thing I'm going to have you do is just give me your full name and the spelling, when you were here and what position you played, just so that we have it for when we edit.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Full name is Andrew Scott Meyer from Dayton, Ohio, and I went to UD from 1992 through 96, and I was a power forward.
Can you spell your last name for me?
M-E-Y-E-R.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, Andy, unlike some of the people that we've interviewed, you actually grew up watching the Flyers as well as playing for them. What was it like to play for the team that you watched ever since you were a little kid?
I think it was exciting. I think, like you said, I was a fan long before I ever came to school here. Both my parents went here, and I had a brother who played football here as well. So I think it was just something I envisioned myself doing in terms of a dream. And when I eventually came here, at first it was exciting, and I met a lot of great people that I knew for a long time and got to play in front of them.
Okay. If you're not sure where to look, just look at
Let
me.
me
Okay.
do one thing, Doug.
Okay.
I gotta move that light a little bit because it's making it yellow.
Okay.
We're rolling, and yeah, go ahead and look right here at him. Andy.
Okay.
Okay. Well, when you were growing up, who were some of the players that you watched and maybe imitated in the driveway?
I think initially Jack Zimmerman was an era when I started watching UD basketball. I was about 3 or 4 years old, and that was probably the first name that I really remembered from the beginning in terms of being able to watch them on TV. We came to a lot of games when I was growing up at UD Arena. Of course, Roosevelt Chapman, Cedric Toney, and that would have probably been around my 4th or 5th grade year in school when I really believed that at some point I would be able to play at a college level. So they inspired me, but as I said before, my parents went here and my brother went here, and I knew a lot of the names that came probably 20 years before me and really understood the tradition that they had at UD.
When you got older and maybe were playing in open gyms or just playing around town, was there ever a time where you went up against a guy who played at UD and maybe you're still in high school and you were suddenly like, holy cow, I'm playing Cedric Toney or whoever it might have been?
Yeah, I'd say so. Right around my freshman year in high school and all the way through my career at Alder, I had a chance to play with the players at UD, and it was competitive from the standpoint that I was in awe a little bit that I got to play with people at that level at a school that I liked. But at the same time, great players and good people who really accepted me and encouraged me to go there, and that was special, and I think that was one of the things that ultimately led me to going to UD. Just strong program with good people, and I felt at home.
Now, what was it like put that uniform on and go out in front of 13,000 people in the arena?
Exciting. I think any time that you have that kind of support, it's a lot of motivation in terms of driving you to want to succeed. One time in particular I could think of was Midnight Madness my freshman year, and I think every player feels this. Their first night with the team, an event like that, I think really set the tone for the intensity that I wanted to bring towards basketball. I was a little nervous at first, but again, my teammates helped me through it.
You've stayed in town, and obviously you've watched the team's recent success. Were you here for the Atlantic 10 tournament last year? Were you able to make the games? Or,
I was.
what was it like to be in the stands, but still know that there's a part of what you were able to contribute was down on the floor that night?
Well, I was proud of them. I think that I understood the work that it took to come from where we were. Quite frankly, we had struggled a little bit when I was at school here, and about halfway through my career, we began the process of trying to get this program back on track, and to be a part of a situation where you were watching them win and fulfill what had been a long process of winning a championship. From a fan standpoint and as a player, it was just a proud moment for me, and I was really proud of the team as well.
I asked you what it was like to put the uniform on. Now that you've graduated, moved on in your life, what did being part of the University of Dayton basketball team? What does it mean to you now?
I think it was just what it means to me is knowing that I was part of a solid institution surrounded by great people. I think so much of what I learned while I was here has helped me a great deal now that I'm through basketball and moving into a new part of my life. And I'll always remember the good people that I was surrounded by and tough times that we were involved in and how they worked their way through. And as you said, most recently won a championship, and I always feel that I was a part of that. And just thankful that I had that opportunity.
Okay.